Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on LinkedIn today. I'm very pleased to be talking to a young lady and a very accomplished professional who is a specialist across digital supply chains. She's an enthusiast across a whole range of elements of the supply chain. She is currently a very busy woman. She's the founder and CEO of New Gen Architects, and she's been doing that in Atlanta, Georgia for about 4 or 5 years or so. She's also senior supply chain planner with Dexcom in a hybrid role. And she has recently written a book. And I must disclose that I have had the pleasure of meeting this young lady in Dubai a couple of years ago. And it's very, very timely that we can talk to her today about the book that she's written. So without further ado, Dyci Sfregola from Atlanta, Georgia. Dyci, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you again. I feel like it was yesterday that we met in Dubai.
Love to hear that. So look, let's have, as we do with the show, I'd like to hear a little bit about the background, the journey for you. So where did it all start and how did you end up with doing what you're doing now?
Yes. Long story short, I studied media at university. I studied media. I studied politics and international affairs, and I studied Spanish. And I was on scholarship, Spanish language education, more specific. But I also knew at the time that I really wanted to go into local development. I started a nonprofit organization, education, and I've always felt this call for globalization and like do your part for the rest of the world. But in starting the nonprofit organization, what I realized very quickly is that I didn't have the resources to really have the impact that I wanted to. That took me to Europe after I realized, okay, this isn't going to be the thing that I pursue right now, but I'm young, I don't have any student debt, I'm single. Why not? So I moved to Europe.
What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong?
Had never been to Italy, but I was like, I speak Spanish. I've been to Finland. Should be close enough. I can figure it out. So I moved to Italy, learned Italian, started working in PR and marketing. Then landed a role back in the US. Ended up doing some time as a flight attendant. And ultimately, about a decade ago, decided to go back to school because I had kind of figured out what I wanted to do, and I wanted to go into engineering. So that took me into industrial engineering. I got a master's in engineering management, and at the same time, fell into or maybe I orchestrated this. I don't know. Maybe I fell into it. Maybe I orchestrated it, but I was at a crossroads where I could take an internship with the Air Force. And that was about an hour south of Atlanta, or I could take a consulting internship doing digital supply chain implementation. So production planning, S&OP, inventory management. So I had two options, and one was to take an internship with the Air Force doing logistics management, or to take an internship doing essentially what I would say maybe marketing support for a digital supply chain consulting firm. And it really just came down to, we had just moved back to the US. I wasn't a traditional student. I had a husband. He didn't speak English. He didn't have his green card yet. And an hour and a half commute to and from to leave him at home every day just didn't seem fair. So I took the consulting internship because it was 10 minutes from our house. That's really how I made the decision. It wasn't like, which one of these is going to be best for my career? It was like, I have a family now. Like I did I'm single. I do whatever I want. I did that all through Europe. I lived in Germany. I lived in Italy. I visited Turkey. I have great friends in Romania and Bulgaria. I've done Paris. and a lot more. And then I was commuting when I was a flight attendant between Milan and New York. Like I lived my 20s. So by the time it was like master's, going into the next phase of life, I was very much okay with putting someone else, in the mix and considering them. So that's how I ended up in digital supply chain. And as they say, the rest is history.
Sounds to me like you've had a lot of logistics planning to do just on your personal life alone, apart from career.
Yes,
So it's really
yes.
interesting.
I've always done a lot of logistics planning.
Okay, really interesting, but nothing surprises me about you. So great, and here we are, and you've recently, and give me 30 seconds on the fact that you've recently started in delivering a LinkedIn program on what?
Yes, I did not quite a month ago, but I went out to the LinkedIn studios to record a course on S&OP Foundation, so sales and operations planning, which is a very, very important collaborative planning process that we're taught a lot in supply chain. It's actually, I think, just a business planning process overall that we do need, engagement and participation from marketing, from finance, really from everyone. So it's actually interesting to me that it's only taught to supply chainers because there's so often that we're like struggling to get marketing's buy-in and struggling to get sales to participate and struggling to tell the story of why people should come to these meetings, they should participate in this process. So hopefully with the LinkedIn course, we can start to share the good word about S&OP outside of just the supply chain. But yeah, it's supposed to come out either August or September, so just in a few weeks now. And it was very, very fun. I will say it was very fun. I loved the production team. The script editing process was very different from the book writing process, which is very different from workshop planning. So I did underestimate that, but it was very fun. I had a good support team over at LinkedIn.
Good stuff. All right. Now, the reason I wanted to talk to you this time around was because you've written a book. As if you're not doing enough with your life, woman. Good God. Okay. So what book? Why? And let's dig into some details about what the book's about. Hey, there it is. Next Level Construction Management. Of course, that's exactly what we wanted to hear about.
Yes.
And leveraging digital what?
Fundamentals for project success. It's a mouthful. I'm sure it has something to do with keyword searches and other things. But it is the culmination of my workshops, the trainings that I do, the consulting advice that I give clients, the things that I have learned in working across different industries, different company sizes, various levels of digital maturity, various levels of supply chain maturity, and basically saying, okay, if you're going to get started, what do you need to know? And it focuses on 3 topics from a supply chain governance perspective, which is, as I mentioned, S&OP, IBP, but collaborative planning in general. So getting out of silos and what supply chain frameworks exist to help companies do that. Strategic procurement and sourcing, getting people out of the idea of being order makers and order takers. So how do you approach this strategically, and how does it impact the sustainability, longevity, profitability of the business? And then network design and risk management, network optimization. So it's focused on the construction industry because I think that there are a lot of different concepts that other industries, I won't necessarily say have mastered, but they're more commonplace. The idea, if the company hasn't mastered it, they're pursuing some sort of project to improve what they're doing or to get these things implemented. And I don't hear that as much in the construction industry. So this is my love letter to the construction industry to say, these are all of the different fundamentals that other industries are already doing that could potentially be a good fit in construction. I'm a newbie to construction. I don't pretend to know all the answers, but I do hope that someone that is, an industry veteran will read some of this and say, you know what, this might not work in the way that she's presenting it because there are these compliance issues or these other things that I might know about, but I see where she's going. So we can do some of this because ultimately we have to build better. It's very wasteful the way that things are built now. There's and waste in like many different ways: money, time, energy, resources, material. It's just a highly unproductive industry, but it is so important to the human experience. The building of roads, infrastructure, community planning, homes, the buildings where we live, work, play, learn. Like it's so important to what we have as like society that we have to find a way to make it right and to make it better. So this is my little way of to trying to.
Hey, there's a couple of quick fire questions for you, unscripted. If there was one thing that you wanted people to take away after reading your book, and it's a difficult one, what would one or two things be? Just short, sharp, 30-second answers. What would they be that you want them to take away after reading the book? Okay. What would you like to have stick?
The biggest thing is that there are many digital tools out there that can improve the way that not just construction, but the way we do supply chain, the way we connect with one another. And there's no right way to do it.
Yeah.
But that user adoption is the most important thing to consider. Because it doesn't matter how much time and energy and resources you put into requirements gathering and designing a tool and designing the way that it's supposed to work if people don't actually use it. So really bringing people along and understanding what the new role is going to be, what's the new normal going to be once this technology is being implemented. How do you reskill people? How do you upskill people? That's the most important. Everything else is just like how to do it and like what you can do, but you have to realize that none of that matters if you're not actually doing something and implementing something that people are going to use. It's all just wasted time.
Sounds good. Sounds good. What's the next book about?
I don't know. Funny thing is that when I wrote this book and it was done, I said, I'm never doing that again. And now that it's done and it's kind of behind me, I would do it again. I don't know if I would write it about supply chain though. I did start like ideating on a book during COVID that is called Don't Take My Advice. And it's really just a book about like forging your own path, which is what I've done. I never really took other people's advice on what I should study, where I should study, what I should do. I always took different perspectives and then analyzed that to see what decision can I live with? What do I think is going to be best for me? Not copying or imitating or following in someone else's path. And it's been scary. People tell me all the time, like, oh, you're fearless. And I'm like, absolutely not. I just do it scared. I just do it scared and hope that, on the other end, it's gonna work out or it's gonna work out. And I always say, like, I panic first, but then I figure it out. I'm always gonna panic first, but then I'm gonna figure it out. So I think I'd rather write something about that as opposed to like I've done the supply chain, I've done the technical book, but I think there's something to be said about just, you know, being a good human and doing what you think is best for you, and not really following like what other people think you should be doing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm into of any of these ventures, right? It's like the Special Forces motto: "He who dares wins." So,
Great,
you,
what is it? Great to take the path less traveled. Great risk or great reward requires great risk. All the things.
I'm sure there's 1,000 of them. That's really cool. Hey, I got a quick question for you that I often ask some of our guests on the show, and that is, your case, supply chain. If you were to give one piece of advice to anybody who is looking at a career in supply chain, they may be coming up as a graduate or an undergraduate, or somebody coming out of high school wanting to get into supply chain, or it might be somebody coming from transitioning from another industry, more mature. What would your one piece of advice be for people coming into the supply chain?
Okay. My first unapologetic self-promotion is, first, take one of our workshops. We do certified supply chain analyst workshops. It's a great, training prep courses for the exam if you want to get certified. It's an international accreditation, and it's great for newbies into the supply chain industry to really get insight and exposure to what the end-to-end supply chain really means, from the point of product development, innovation, like this is what we want to make. How do we make it? Where do we source materials? How much is it going to cost to make? How are we going to move it? All the way to maintenance, repair, and operations, service parts, reverse logistics, trying to build that circular model. So take an exam prep course, take one of my courses. I'll see you there. That's the first thing. The second thing is to pick what you think you might want to focus on. The supply chain is very, very, very large. And I talk to people a lot of time that say, oh, I want to get into supply chain. I'm like, well, do you want to get into production and manufacturing? Do you want to go into transportation and logistics? Do you want to go into planning on the corporate side? Like, really take some time to figure out where you might want to start. And then go there, but know that there are so many different paths to take it. It's so fun. It is so interesting, but also remember, supply chain before anything else is a people industry. You need relationships to make anything happen. Regardless of how much we automate, regardless of how much they say AI is killing whatever, it's not. It is, we are far, and I am a techno optimist. We are far from the world of death to all supply chain roles, and autonomous supply chains. We're just not there. So please come, please bring your energy, please bring your new ideas. This industry is ripe for disruption and new ideas. Everything is always changing. So come bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and remain that way. It's very easy to get cynical.
If only
positive.
If only somebody given me that entree when I was 16 or 17 when I got into supply chain, I might have gone on a different route. But hey, that's the best advert I've ever heard for getting into supply chain. We're gonna put a brace around that and frame that and get it out. Of course, people have got it on the video, so that's brilliant.
It's fun. That's the most.
It is.
It's fun. It's impactful. It's rewarding.
Well, clearly, and unless why else would you and I still be in it if it wasn't?
That's also very true. I don't think I'll ever do anything else. I think
Okay.
that I'll always be in supply chain.
Brilliant. And where do people get hold of you to find out more about how they can get introduced into the industry, or where they can get your book? And people being able to see the book behind us while this has been going on. What's the easiest way to get hold of you, Dyci?
It's actually dcmans.com, DYCIMANNS.com, or on LinkedIn. And I think I'm the only DC Mans. It's easier to do DC Mans. Sfregola is hard, but you'll see it there. But dcmans.com or LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, there's no question you're the only one with that name, because that is the name from heaven. DC Mans Sfregola. And really appreciate you being on the show. Great to talk to you again. And congratulations. Another story, but congratulations on your recent trip down to
Kenya. Yes.
Yes.
I'm so excited for that project. It's really truly the epitome of what I say with the construction fundamentals, how important it is to just continue to develop within the world. We're doing energy development. There's a lot of construction moving pieces, the manufacturing, the logistics, all of it.
And
I'm so excited about it.
Dyci, thank you so much for giving us some time on a beautiful, no doubt, Peach State, Atlanta, Georgia morning. And we look forward to keeping in touch with you, and all the best with all of the consulting and all of the programs that you're doing, and of course with the book. And let's have another quick look at the book. Yay. There it is, folks. Next Level Construction Management. That's a big book with a lot of little words. Good stuff. Take it easy. Thanks, Dyci.
Thanks for having me.